Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials.
Good morning, it's 8 o'clock on Tuesday the 29th of September. Just making my way down to the land, trying to get ahead of the weather. It's forecast for some really strong gales and rain over the coming days. As always, not quite sure what we'll get done today, but let's find out. Well, here we are down on the land. It's not often you get a midweek video from me. Got a little bit of time off work, so I wanted to get down and try and get some grass cutting done. We're forecast this week for more heavy rain and strong winds, and I'm just conscious that it's that time of year I might not be able to get much of the grass cutting done. So I'm going to get myself in the cabin, get sorted out, opened up, get the little tractor out and see what we can get done. I'm just starting off a little fire. To be fair, this wood stove doesn't take long to pick up at all, so 2 or 3 minutes and we should have a decent fire going. And it is needed this morning because it's a bit cool. I just quickly opened up the polytunnel while that fire's lighting. Not a great deal in here to show you really that you didn't see at the weekend. Everything's pretty much as I left it, to be honest. Watering system is working well. I'm really pleased actually. That new pump, it is going to help me now that I know what works. I think I'll just pop that battery box out on charge as well. It's just sat in here in the freezing cold at night, which doesn't help to maintain the charge, and of course this pump's running twice a day, so just a bit of maintenance, just keep on top of things. I'll get that battery box charged up and I'll go and check and see what's happening with the fire. Let's take a quick look. Yeah, that's nicely away now. It's literally only been 3-4 minutes. I've been outside, opened the polytunnel up, and it's already blazing away quite nicely. I'll get a bit bigger wood, little log on top of that, and that should set it for the day. Really pleased with this stove. Can't I must have said it half a dozen times in previous videos, but it is really good for the money. And for the speed that it gets up to a decent fire, it's really quite remarkable. Well, just pulled the little tractor out and topped it up with a bit of fuel. It is a little bit cool, but I am going to try and get a little bit more grass cut. It is still wet underfoot. It's been a bit of a wintry week this week, but there is a glimmer of sunshine over that northern side of the field, so we'll see how we get on. Well, I popped out this solar panel this morning to recharge the battery that I use for the watering system in the polytunnel. I did have high hopes. The sun might make an appearance, but although it's there, it is buried in the clouds. It's not producing a great deal in terms of sunlight, but thankfully this panel is quite good. It will still charge even though we haven't got direct sun, so fingers crossed after a few hours it should have topped the battery up and I can get it back into the polytunnel. Well, I just couldn't help myself. Even though the grass is wet, I just couldn't resist doing this top corner by the roadside here. And whilst it wasn't too long, you can clearly see where I've been. It still has picked quite a bit of grass up. I'm just going to run down now and get rid of the grass in the compost heap. So another good job with the little red tractor. It's keeps plugging away. I can't say that I'm being too gentle with it, but it is standing up well and it's doing what it's supposed to do, so I'm very happy with it. That top part of the road that I've just cut, actually it's not the biggest part of the field, it's one of the smaller parts, and yet it's surprising how much it does grow there, because I've taken up quite a lot of grass there, considering it was already short to start with. It's just surprising how much it does pick up. So I'm going to get that thrown on the compost pile, and then I'll get myself sat down with a cup of coffee, I think. Well, I really don't know where the day goes to. It just flies by. But we're making good progress with cutting the grass. Though I must admit, it is a bit cool on the hands, so it is nice to get in by the old wood burner and just get warmed up a little bit. Might seem easy sitting on the little red tractor just going up and down the field, but with the constant bumping and jumping off and emptying the grass and trying to spin the wheel at 100 miles an hour to get around the trees. Anyway, I digress. While I was sat on the little red tractor just bimbling around, your mind wanders, or mine does anyway. And I was quite looking forward to my cup of coffee and a little spot of light lunch. And if you've been watching my videos recently, you'll recognise what this is. It is a rabbit pasty that I made the other night from rabbits from this very field. So thank you, shout out to COVID Hunter, for sharing your bounty with me. I'll not be rude and eat that now while I'm talking to you, but if I seem to speed up, it's because I want to eat it. I am a bit peckish. But it got me thinking about the subject of food, and we've done lots of different items on food in previous videos. I do keep popping out reminder videos from time to time on the subject of long-term food storage, whether that's an in-depth video on what it is that I'm stocking, or whether it's just little reminder videos when I've popped to the shops and topped up on my preps and perhaps doing a bit of vacuum sealing. So I've covered that subject endlessly. So if you've stumbled on this video and you're new or just getting into prepping and you need some advice, guidance on long-term food storage, then do please feel free to just scroll back through the videos on the channel and you can see what I've been doing and hopefully learn from any mistakes or holes that I've discovered along the way in my preps. But today, apologies, my nose is cold and running a little bit. Little cabin chat today. It's only a little, so don't worry. On the subject of food, and it's this making things with what's around you. Foraging, I've covered that in previous videos. Things like blackberries, elderberries, rosehips. Although I am going to do more videos on those because, as with everything, it is a learning experience, and I am just starting to build up a little bit of knowledge about what's edible and what isn't. Still got a long way to go on the subject of fungi, mushrooms. you'll have seen in several videos I keep taking pictures of a vast array of different kinds of fungi and mushrooms. So I am still learning as to what you can and can't eat, because please don't just pick things and test it out by eating it. Do research first, because there's a lot of stuff out there that can make you very unwell, and indeed there's lots of stuff out there that can kill you. So don't put anything in your mouth unless you're absolutely sure what it is. But today I thought I'd just talk about the bigger items of wildlife that you can use as a source of meat when you're in a something hit the fan scenario and your normal food chain has stopped. And even in a small piece of land like this, there is quite a surprising amount that you can eat. And hopefully as we go through into the winter, I'll do a few more videos on cooking with things that I've actually caught, or sometimes my friends have caught here on the land. It's not going to be in depth. You can do lots of searching around YouTube. There are lots of channels that can go through the range of smaller game type animals that are around, and I think for both UK and American viewers the options are pretty similar. Some of the bird species might vary a little bit, but in general I think the things that I'm seeing on the land here and that I'm potentially catching and cooking on the land here are going to be fairly similar. They fall into two categories generally, though there is a third. I just don't have that option right now on my land, and I'll touch on that later. We talk about small mammals and birds. Here on my land I've got quite a variety of different birds that are fairly easy to catch if you've got the right equipment and a little bit of skill, and are very, very nice when you cook them up. So I'm thinking some of the more obvious ones would be pigeons, wood pigeons. You'll have seen on my videos I get lots of those here, and they're in really good condition because of the surroundings. This is all of these fields around me, certainly the smaller ones that my neighbours have got as small homesteads or allotment garden, they're all organic. There's nothing on these fields chemical wise. My particular field, I did do a little bit of research when I bought the land, and the previous owner of the land, I think had intended to do some kind of organic farming as a business, because he'd actually submitted an application to get registered as organic land, and at the time that I bought it he'd had 6 years in without any kind of chemical treatment, which is nice to know. So if I continue in the same vein, potential in the future is that I can become certified organic, and that adds a premium price for whatever it is that I subsequently grow on here. Sorry, I digressed a little bit there, but it's all useful stuff to know. So yeah, wood pigeons in very good condition, very, very plump, and indeed there was one on the cabin roof literally just yesterday. It pinged the CCTV. It was huge. So pigeons, lots of those floating around. Other kind of more seasonal game birds, there are definitely lots of pheasants. You'll have seen those in some of my short wildlife videos that I've done, and again in very good condition. There's lots of food for them around here. Fields just across the road, lots of grain grown in those fields. Lots of berries around my field and the woodland at the back of my field, and plenty of cover for them to hide and to nest in. There are a few Pheasant catch and release farms that do shooting when it comes in season in and around this area. So there will be an abundance later this year as they release those birds for sport. The sportsmen don't get all of them and I end up with quite a lot sort of resting around here going through winter, and hence that's why I get lots on my feeder, which will be being refilled fairly shortly, I think. Other game birds, partridge, grouse. Not so much grouse here, though a little bit further up there's some moorland. It's probably about, I don't know, 5-6 miles, maybe not even that. So we do get the odd strays coming across, and you will have definitely seen ducks and geese flying around above my field. I had hoped to have had my pond, or my pond version 2 in by now, but with COVID and work and everything else that goes on in real life, I just haven't had the time. And I think I'm going to be tied up on project work with the polytunnel as we're heading towards the back end of the year, and winter time really is not the right time to be digging a pond, so I'm extremely doubtful that I'll even make a start on that this year. So yeah, ducks and geese, quite a lot of those, and certainly as we head into the back end of the year, there'll be a lot more of them flying across the field. So fingers crossed, you never know, we might get some of those later this year. So that's birds. There are a couple of others that at a push you could go for. Crows in particular, there are lots of those floating around, and the old nursery rhyme, 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie, actually it's not referring to blackbirds as in the small cute little garden birds. It's talking about these damned nuisance birds, I think, the crows, rooks, ravens, they're all fairly similar. Though I must admit I'd rather have a pheasant or a pigeon than a crow anytime. Small mammals, lots of those around here. You'll have seen those in my videos, particularly the small wildlife videos that I do. Ones that readily spring to mind, the more obvious ones being the rabbits and the squirrels. There is a lot of those around, so they're too a potential as a wildlife food source come something hit the fan, or indeed, if in my case you've got too many and they're eating all of your vegetables. Bloody squirrels and rabbits. So yeah, there's quite a few. Any of the things that I've mentioned up to now, you don't actually need heavy duty or exotic hunting equipment to catch those. Any of them that I've mentioned so far you could take out with an air rifle, and indeed my friend at the Covid Hunter channel uses just that. He uses a gas powered air rifle, so it's on the more powerful side of the air rifle family, but I have what we call a Springer, a spring action, a spring powered air rifle myself, and whilst it's not the most powerful air rifle in the world, it's more than capable of taking out all of the birds I've mentioned, and at close enough quarters the rabbit and the squirrel as well. So you don't need to go out the full Monty and buy some high powered firearm to go out and hunt successfully for the smaller game that's in and around your locality. I could go on and talk about larger items of game which are clearly in and around this area, because you'll have seen in a previous video I've had Bambi, the deer, call in at my field. So there are definitely deer. You're not going to take those out with an air rifle, that's for sure. You would need a more powerful rimfire or centerfire gun to do that, Or alternatively, you could go down the road of something that I have got, and you'll have seen that in my previous videos. You could go down the crossbow route. Here in the UK, getting firearms, proper firearms, cartridge type firearms, isn't the easiest thing in the world, and there are strict limits and licensing requirements to do that. I do envy my American cousins sometimes when I look at the vast arsenal that's available to you guys out there in the States. I do have a selection of firearms myself, but if you own guns, you always want some more, and you always want bigger and better and more powerful. So yeah, you don't need to go down that route to capture the bigger quarry, such as deer. You could use a crossbow, as long as it's a sufficiently powerful crossbow and you're at close enough quarters to the animal to be able to take it down cleanly. So I just thought I'd run that by you. The third option, which isn't relevant right now on my land, is of course fishing. Now I do have some quite sizable ponds just literally across the road from my field, which do have a fair abundance of fish in them. So I have access of a fashion. In normal times I wouldn't be in there fishing. Firstly, it's not allowed in those ponds, and secondly, you're into the realms of fishing licenses. However, having said that, long-term plan on the land, as long-term viewers will know, is to get a pond dug out that's stable enough and sizable enough to actually rear my own fish. I really do want to try and get a pond stocked with perch as a long-term sustainable food source for when something hits the fan. So yeah, two definite options right now. Third is marginally possible with the ponds nearby, but it is a long-term ambition to do. Rear my own fish and fish the pond as and when I need fish for dinner. But really the point of talking to you today about this, whilst it does act as a reminder and a prompt or a signpost, if you like, for you to go out and do a research on wild animals that would be suitable for food, I am conscious that a lot of people, even people that I know personally, are a little bit queasy when it comes to the thought of catching, killing, butchering and cooking and eating poor old bunny rabbits or pigeons. It's surprising how much of a turn off that is. Some people just don't like the thought of killing the more furry, feathery, cuddly animals for food. Some just don't like the idea, no matter who's killed them, because they are available in a lot of different butchers' shops to buy, ready-made for you to put in the oven or the pan. But some people just have this issue with eating wild animals, and of course some people are just completely vegan and just don't eat meat at all. Each to your own. If you do have an issue with it, then it's your right and privilege to be that way. But if you're looking at prepping, you can't ignore it. You really can't. Once the supermarket shelves run out, where are you going to get your protein from? Your meat, your fish. You're going to have to go out and catch your own. So it does kind of make sense to try and, first of all, figure out what's around you that is edible, what equipment and skills you would need to be able to catch and kill and butcher and clean those animals or birds ready for cooking. And if it's something you haven't tried, why not pop to the butcher's shop and have a go at something that's a little bit out of the ordinary. It's not your normal pig, lamb, beef or chicken. Some people do think that they don't taste nice, but if you've not tried them, how do you know? So, as I said, everybody's got their own right to eat what they want to eat. But with prepping in mind, I would encourage you to, if you haven't already done so, have a little think about it and perhaps go out and get a rabbit or a pheasant from your butcher's shop and give it a try. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You've lost a couple of pounds or dollars that you've spent on buying it. But until you try it, you never will know. And who knows? You might actually find that it's very tasty, which they are. Clearly, long term, you do have to be a little bit sustainable. If we did have a major something hit the fan scenario, I guarantee everybody at some point would turn to hunting and foraging for their food because they have to eat. So the wildlife stocks would quickly deplete. Some of that is a bit subjective because it depends on the something hit the fan scenario as to how many of the population die off. There is a school of thought that if it was a major total grid down scenario, around about 90% of people wouldn't be here after a year. So there is hope on the horizon. Sounds a bit mean saying that, but it's true. If it was proper long-term grid down, total collapse, wildlife would eventually repopulate itself. But in order to get ahead of the game, it would make sense if you can rear your own. So in any homestead, really, you should be looking at the basics: rabbits, chickens, perhaps a goat, to try and get some sustainable, renewable source of protein or meat, and just give the wild animals a bit of a break and let them repopulate themselves. Don't go out on a mass killing spree and take out everything that's in your woodland, because self-sufficiency and sustainability is the idea, not wipe everything out and we'll all die of starvation because we've killed all the rabbits or wherever it is that we're hunting. Anyway, just thought I'd share that with you in a little cabin chat. I have still got the northern side of the field to do. Thankfully, the sun has come out, so it is gradually drying that end off because that is always in full sun, that side. And equally, it doesn't grow as quickly as other more shaded parts of the field do. So I don't know, I'm guessing about an hour, maybe just over an hour, and I should have that killed. But for now, this pie keeps looking at me, or this pasty I should say, keeps looking at me. So I am definitely going to get this eaten. I'll not do that with you. Make your own, you've got the recipe. Bon appetit, I'll catch you later on. That's very nice. Well, that's the centre section done, which is always the most difficult because it is so bumpy. Plus, of course, you've got to wend your way through all these trees. Not as I'm complaining though, because I do want these to grow. So just that final section to do. I just can't help myself with this grass. I've just done the section around where the aggregate pile was, so that's nicely trimmed down now as well, and just around where the car stands. Not sure what to do with this patch where the aggregate was, because there just isn't any grass. It was just bare earth, and it was overgrown a lot with brambles. So I'm inclined to just leave this and see what happens. Let these little trees get established, because there's some more coming down here, and see if I can't get a little wood or copse in this centre bit. Might attract a bit of wildlife, a little refuge for them, this top end of the field. So I don't know, we'll see, but main thing is I'm keeping on top of the grass, and this section at the top by the roadside is completely done as well. So it's all looking very, very nice. Well, I'm busy on that northern end of the field. We've got a bit of sunlight on there now, so that's quite nice. It is still very wet though, but the little red tractor's not letting me down. It is picking it up, so that's good. I'll get rid of this. I do need to just pop some fuel in there, because the level's way down. I don't know if you can see it, it's about there. So I'll do that, and then we can hopefully get it finished off before we lose the day. Well, finally, that's it all cut down. So I'm really pleased actually, because we are going to get some really rubbish weather over the next few days. So I'm not quite sure when I'll get the chance to do this next. But it's looking very nice, very short, all the way around, including where the car's parked. I've even managed to give a little trim for the entranceway. Could do with a strimmer down that far end where the signpost is, but other than that it's fine. So yeah, very, very pleased. Go and pop the little workhorse away, empty the grass, and we'll not be far off being done. Well, that's it for another day. Cabin and tractor garage is all locked up. Polytunnel is all closed up for the day. It's time to get myself off home, have a little bit of a relax. Sun's actually made an appearance, albeit briefly, and it's taken all day to do it, but it's making my grass look nice, which is always a pleasant sight to see.
Well, that's it for this video. I hope there was something in there that was of interest to you. If you did like the video, please do click on the like button. Also feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. What are your thoughts on wild food? Do you have any problem eating things like pigeons, rabbits and squirrels? Indeed, if there's any other animals that you can think of that might be tasty, do let me know in the comments section below. But for now, thanks for watching and look forward to seeing you in the next video.